I just want to make it clear that I've said this before, but I'll continue to say it so that you have some idea sort of what my position is. I am not a burn down the system person, and I am not a defunded police person. I personally believe that police and the systems that exist for reason, for cause, and it would be ridiculous to just say, well, let's just burn it down and start over. You know that if you do that, what you're going to end up with is basically nothing for a time. That's how that's going to work out. And there's really no way around that. So what I want to do today is talk about the idea, though, of taking policing back on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I am Kurt, and today is Monday, the 29th of November of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and YouTube. Long-standing thing for me, getting my thank you and welcome confused. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform, and the subject today is taking policing back. Tomorrow we're going to talk on the subject of hurt feelings, and I've sort of talked on this before, but I'm going to touch on it maybe from a slightly different angle than I did before. But in any case, we'll go ahead and get on with our notes on taking policing back, and then have a little discussion on that in this video. So, not only has law enforcement not always been in the living room of government, but it really shouldn't be totally in that place now either. The complexity comes with the pooling of resources, in my view. As things work at present, people count on government to do the, quote, best job, end of quote, in creating and maintaining policing entities. The reality is, though, the way things work in the present moment, policing activities are reactive. So police are a reactive force, not a proactive one. Am I saying what exists for police at present should be done away with? Not at all. And particularly not now, because we don't have anything better at the moment. What am I saying? What I am saying is, most of the time, police are about mopping up what's already happened. Sometimes modern-day police can actually respond to things while they're occurring. Much of the time, even that's not the case. So it's after, most of the time. They're dealing with the after effects. Even when it is, it seems to me we need to find a way to keep things from happening in the first place. I'm not suggesting some sort of minority report dystopian futuristic law enforcement. We're not going to think this person might be guilty and therefore, take action against them. I'm talking about what more well-off people do all the time. Many folks have pointed to what I'm talking about as why the elites are out of touch. They have walls around their estates and security to keep them from getting robbed and to keep the riffraff out. I'm not suggesting the reason should necessarily be exactly the same, but it should be possible to have folks trained and roving various neighborhoods who can not just report crime, but keep it from happening in the first place. You might rightly argue this is what Neighborhood Watch was supposed to do. The problem? Most such entities are strictly volunteer, so instead of trained agents, at least in a formal sense, mostly it's folks doing what they can do when they can do it. All right? It seems to me we need to start finding ways to pay a person or people to patrol neighborhoods. Having them there should reduce crime all on its own. Training them to deal with various situations and circumstances should do that much more. One way or the other, though, we need to take at least part of, I'm not saying necessarily totally, but at least part of policing back from the government. That's my 2 cents. Tell me how I'm wrong. I'm going to go ahead and obviously do some more talking about this. Obviously, this is another click moment, right? I refer to these periodically as those moments when I could literally just stop the recording and be done in, 4 minutes into the actual content of this video. But I want to take the time to sort of talk about this for a moment and get us thinking about some things. In the modern day, police officers are typically so busy dealing with hard cases or not in the places where it would be useful for them to be because they have assigned beats or whatever it happens to be, so that if you look in many neighborhoods, the idea of police presence in those neighborhoods is almost non-existent. Now, again, I don't want to talk about some dystopian ideal, and I don't want to talk about brown shirts or anything like that. I don't want people policing in a way where they're saying, pick up that litter necessarily even. Don't get me wrong, I'd like it if people didn't leave their litter lying all over the place, but that having been said, I don't think that's a reasonable expenditure of time, the time that you would put people to do that sort of thing, right? So I'm talking about people who would watch and look for the more serious things that could happen in a given area, a given neighborhood, a given business area, whatever it happens to be. Now, you'll see this already happening in lots of businesses, as I've said in a former video where I talked about security guards, right? You'll see security guards. You'll see gated communities where it's common for them to have security people roaming around periodically. But the problem is, as a rule, when this sort of thing happens, one of two things is true. It's either a very small area where a very few people are actually protected by what's going on, or it's a very large area where the number of people who are doing the patrolling are far too small. And again, if you can talk about things like neighborhood watch, and I like the idea, but the problem is most of us, we have jobs, and we can't take our, and not only that, but we're raising kids or whatever, right? And we cannot take our time and use that time doing things like patrolling our neighborhood. We can't. We don't have the time to do that. This, in fact, in my opinion, is why police began to be a thing to begin with. Why? Well, because people out there thought, I really need somebody to look after my stuff so I can do the things that I'm doing. Well, the problem is, as I say, the way things are in the modern day. And my brother brought up a good reason for this. I was visiting with my brother, and he brought up a good reason for this. And the reason is we have a spirit of lawlessness in modern America. It's a horrible thing. It's a bunch of people running around breaking laws without any thought or concern about it. And I said to him, and he already knew this. This was not some revelatory moment for him. I said to him, yeah, if you don't believe that, all you got to do is look at how people drive. You'll almost never find people who are willing to drive the speed limit. Are you kidding? Not drive recklessly, not potentially cause accidents? Oh, no, forget that. I can't go across a place where the cross street is stop signs on both sides and I don't have one, and not have somebody hit me for ignoring the stop sign. This is you can say that that's just carelessness. No, that's lawlessness. That person did what they did with impunity, and when they saw what they'd done, they stopped for a moment and drove off, realizing they were at fault. So, yeah, this is a problem. But the point is, the answer to that, in my view, is not to hide away in our houses, and it's not to bar our windows. It's to get people out there, engaging folks that are on the street, maybe, if they happen to be there at all, but certainly protecting the estates, if you will. And when I say estates, I'm not talking about that like lots of people think about it. I'm talking about it in the estate sale sort of a thing, where somebody has an okay house, but it's nothing fancy or amazing. It's just the place where they live. But protecting their houses and their property to make sure that people, frankly, I would love it if they started with something severe, serious, like burglaries and so forth. But frankly, I'd like it if somebody was kind of going, do you really belong there? And maybe not scaring, but making people realize that other folks are watching what's going on where all of that's concerned. This is what I think we need to do. Again, do we need to get rid of police? No. No, we do not need to get rid of police. They have a very specific purpose, and if you get rid of them, all you do is drop all of that down onto the people we're talking about here, and that's a bad idea for multiple reasons, right? They're not really equipped to do it, and the police happen to be. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no police reform that should be occurring, and I'm not trying to argue that. I think we should carefully look at what's going on, and we should decide what needs to be done to reform police without saying, oh, take all their money, or give their money to social workers, or whatever. I'm not saying social workers aren't a good thing, by the way, so let's not be confused about that. I'm saying you don't fix things by dismantling the existing system. People who tell you that that's what they want to do, they're confused. That doesn't mean, though, that we shouldn't try to, in some sense, take policing back, and that's what I'm suggesting today. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Monday, the 29th of November of 2021, that week after Thanksgiving coming on for a lot of us, right? That means tomorrow will be Tuesday, the 30th of November of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Yes, welcome to, but thank you. And Again, remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a plus on Rumble if you want to indicate that I am doing an okay job in what I'm doing. You can give me a minus if you want to tell me I'm all wet and I need to really work on what I'm doing. My brother gave me a few pointers, and I promise you that I'm more than willing to hear other people do similar things. That's not a problem for me. I think it's a good idea, and maybe I'll listen and maybe I won't, but at least I'll take it under advisement and consider it. Okay? Anyway, you can give me a thumbs up on YouTube or a thumbs down, thumbs up if you like what I'm doing, thumbs down if you don't like it, dislike if you prefer. Today's subject has been taking policing back, and tomorrow we're going to talk on hurt feelings, and I'm going to kind of try and talk on that from a different perspective, as I think I said at the beginning of the video, from where I've talked about it before. And you'll just have to kind of tune in to see exactly what I do with that. Maybe I'll do something that'll be unique. Maybe you'll look at it and go, ho-hum, and yawn. But right now, I think I've got some things to say that might be useful to you. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope the start of your week is good. Mine has been a little bit hairy and not so great, but that's life, and we work with it. Hopefully you'll have a good day tomorrow, and that things will go well for you. And I should be pretty much back on my regular schedule, so I believe I can fairly say that I hope I will see you on Tuesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Monday, November 29th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.